Good afternoon to everyone, to our partner stakeholders of the recruitment agencies, their respective liaison officers. Good afternoon. Welcome to this undertaking, an orientation or meeting regarding the resumption of hiring of domestic and construction workers in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And then this group is only for the Western region. So welcome everyone. Before anything else, I would like to recognize our officials in front. In behalf of Consul General Edgar Tomas Q. Auxilian, who is now on official business in Tabuk. Representing him is Attorney Crystal Mary Y. Padaon Rabanal, Vice Consul of the Philippine Consulate General. With her is, of course, the head of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office, Mr. Roel B. Martin, Labor Attaché. Okay, so may we start this meeting with a prayer. May I invite Brother Amar Baba to share to us a prayer.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير صدق الله العظيم.
So, aside from the officials which I mentioned a while ago, the other staff of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office is also here. May I request everybody from the POLO. We have also here Assistant Labor Attaché, Sol Mutya, and other staff from the Philippine Overseas Labor Office. Once again, good afternoon. To formally open this undertaking, may we please welcome Labor Attaché Roel B. Martin for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Jerry. To all our stakeholders, partners, of course, we have here agency owners whom I've met perhaps through your visits in our office and other undertakings. Of course, we have also a representative from our Philippine Consulate General here in Jeddah, Attorney Cristal Padon Rapadal. Of course, our Assistant Labor Attaché, Sulaiman Muthia, and staff, our welfare officers, as well as administrative staff, particularly in the verification unit of POLO. And of course, our liaison officers, as well as perhaps welfare officers of our recruitment agencies here in the Kingdom. A pleasant afternoon to each and every one of you, and welcome to our meeting with regard to the opening or the resumption of deployment for our domestic workers. Actually, we have 3 categories will be opening, and you're really familiar with the date. Perhaps we can start processing of job orders as early as November 7. So that's around 5 days to go. And not only domestic workers, but through the negotiations we had last September, even construction workers who has been also suspended regarding deployment will now be open. So we will be also talking with construction companies who will deploy construction workers here in the Kingdom. And last but not the least would be the opening of the mega recruitment companies. Is there a mega recruitment company present right now? None so far. I think in the Western region and Jeddah, we only have 5 duly registered mega recruitment companies as compared to Riyadh. I think they have 25 companies there in Riyadh, and about similar 5 mega recruitment companies also in the Eastern region based in Al-Kubar. So essentially, we have 3 Philippine Overseas Labor Offices here in the Kingdom. Well, officially, we have 2 here in Jeddah, and of course, we have in Riyadh, and we have what we call satellite office or consular mobile service being implemented in the city of Al-Kubar. So we have a separate labor office there. Well, it's been 11 months, I think. The domestic workers deployment was suspended last November 25. 11 months since it was suspended, and we really miss you actually, because of course our staff are really bent on they can handle definitely the job of processing thousands of job orders, including accreditation as well as verification of contracts of our workers. And I think you're familiar with what had happened with the negotiations between the Philippine side and the Saudi side last September, which I will discuss later. But prior to the negotiations, I think select recruitment agencies, we were able to meet select recruitment agencies last August in preparation for the discussions about opening the deployment in this similar hotel. Of course, with the help of Mr. Al-Jabarti last August when we had the meeting. But really, this is the first time that we will be meeting owners of recruitment agencies as well as a group of licensed officers for us to collaborate on how we can be able to address pressing concerns of our workers and at the same time to enhance the deployment of our domestic workers. I know your hands are full with regard to the request for visas of prospective employers, and just like what we have mentioned, we're ready to process it and to facilitate the deployment of our domestic workers. Perhaps a rundown of what to expect during the meeting. I prepared a simple presentation, so allow me to discuss this around 5 slides perhaps. This is the background of Western region. Are you familiar with the place? Where is this? Okay, so in Al-Ula. It's a beautiful place here in the western part of the kingdom, and I hope we will have a very productive collaboration and coordination so that not only us but our workers will likewise enjoy the beauty of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, just like in Al-Ula. Recap of the meeting we had attended last August, and of course a brief introduction of the DMW. You're familiar with POEA, but now it's called the Department of Migrant Workers. So it's a new office, a new department, or in this case, a new ministry called the Department of Migrant Workers. And of course, a little background of the agreements and discussions we had during the bilateral meeting with the Saudi side and the ways forward that we can implement or consider. Okay, POEA, you're familiar with the agency in Manila, right? So it's Philippine Overseas Employment Administration, and now, well, starting this year or perhaps early next year, it will now be called officially the Department of Migrant Workers. So it is being headed by an OFW advocate. We have Secretary, we call it Tuts Ople. Secretary Tuts has been at the forefront of protecting the welfare of our domestic workers in particular, and in general our migrant workers. I think for the past 20 years or more than 20 years of involving in migration of our workers. So we say new department, new beginning. So it's a new department, and a lot of officers there are also new, old and new actually, and we call it the home of our OFWs. So it is being transformed to address the issues and concerns of our OFWs, particularly here in the Middle East. And they have already established the One Repatriation Command Center. It's a 24/7 hotline that can accommodate any issues with regard to repatriation of our migrant workers, in particular our domestic workers who are in distress. And the agency is focused on addressing the immediate concerns of our migrant workers, in particular the welfare concerns of our OFWs. So next slide. So these are the agreements that we have reached. Fortunately, I was able to be part of the negotiating representatives of the Philippines. We had almost 2 weeks of negotiations, backdoor negotiations included, together with the representatives from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And this was published already, and of course, you are familiar with this. So we just have to have a rundown of the agreements. Okay, a technical working group has been established to address the implementations of relevant provisions of the agreements concerning how to resolve our welfare cases here in the kingdom. Of course, we are being guided by existing labor laws being implemented in the kingdom. And there was also an agreement for the blacklisting and whitelisting of agencies, not only here in the kingdom, but of course, it includes the agencies in the Philippines. Of course, we received some issues from our Saudi recruitment agencies regarding Philippine agencies who are not very cooperative, and I think they are included. If you have any concerns, just let us know so that we will be able to forward it to our Manila office, and they will evaluate, and perhaps they can also be suspended or put in the blacklist. If you're an agency who will be able to address the concerns of our migrant workers, in particular the domestic workers, then you can be included in the same month in the white list. White list meaning lesser welfare cases, fewer concerns with the labor office. You will be able to determine prospective issues that can be encountered by our domestic workers. Then you have an advantage. In fact, right now in Manila, they are devising a way in which incentives that can be given to Saudi recruitment agencies who can be included in the whitelist. Okay. Related to the resumption of deployment, I think there is a need also to update the standard employment contract. This is being implemented, and of course, we had a meeting last week with MHRSD. I think we will be publishing before the end of the resumption on November 7 a revised standard employment contract, in particular with our domestic workers. This is based on the labor reform initiatives being implemented by the Ministry of Labor here in the Kingdom. Ensure implementation of fully automated recruitment process. This is a concern of the Saudi recruitment agencies. During the initial meeting that we had, we are familiar that you're processing through the Musaned, an online platform. So we have also an opportunity to view and assess the Musaned platform, and I think we're on the way of likewise making online the deployment process. It would be easier, of course, and it would be faster. That's the guarantee that they are telling us, our IT expert in Musaned. So we're looking forward also of implementing the digital deployment of our workers. And of course, signing of a memorandum of understanding as regards combating trafficking in persons. Our secretary is very much aware of what is happening, not just in Saudi Arabia, but other countries as well. So we've been coordinating with the Human Rights Commission in the Kingdom. In fact, we had a meeting during the negotiations, and both parties have agreed to collaborate to address in persons concerns, and we are forwarding relevant issues we have been encountering here in the Western region. And last but not the least would be the convening a regular joint committee meeting. So for the past 3 weeks, we have been meeting with the Ministry of Labor representatives, and as well as representatives coming from Manila. Discussing what are the issues and concerns, what are the pressing services that we can really implement before or even after the November 7 opening of our deployment. So these are essentially the agreements that we've reached, where we will be issuing implementing rules and memorandum to respective Saudi representatives, Saudi owners, Saudi recruitment agency owners, as well as liaison officers, for us to better determine the programs as well as the process flow of recruitment process as regards Filipino domestic workers. Next slide. So just like what we have mentioned during our last meeting in August, we have to collaborate. The POLO, of course, with the full support of the Philippine Consulate General, we will have to collaborate. We have to meet regularly as we have agreed, so that we'll be able to have a win-win environment in terms of deploying domestic workers as well as construction workers here in the Kingdom. So essentially, we need to focus on the dignity of workplace, protection of workers, and happy workforce. If we have a happy worker, I think we'll having also happy employees, happy Saudi citizens. And with that, both parties are happy, and I think the working environment will improve. And of course, there's no suspension. There will no longer be suspension of deployment of domestic workers. So we need to collaborate on identifying the bottlenecks as well as pressing issues and concerns, in particular the welfare concerns of our workers. So focus to address the worker concerns. Right now, at the Bahay Kalinga, or what we call shelter at the consulate, I think we have more or less 200 workers being cared of by the consulate. Around 50 male workers as well as 150 female distress workers. We need to limit welfare cases so that we can concentrate on developmental programs. We need to concentrate on meeting you on how to improve the deployment processes. I think in the later part of the program, during the actual presentation, process flow will be presented to you so that we'll be able to determine what needs to be done, what improvement to be done for us to have a better and happy working relationship. I think this is the last slide. Ways forward, of course, going digital. We're going to that direction and increase efficiency in the deployment of our workers. Your concern is there are workers who only work 1 or 5 days and they want to go out. We need also to determine those workers so that they will not come in the kingdom. We do not want workers to work only for 3 days or 1 month. What we want is for them to finish their contract. Just imagine during the presentation, our pay, I think the retention period is only 35%. So every 100 deployed workers, only 35 workers will stay and will finish their contract. So 65% rate 2 years because the contract is 2 years right now. So our focus right now is we deploy the workers who will be able to finish the contract for 2 years. But to do that, we need your collaboration on this because we know that 90% of those who are not finishing their contract, they have welfare cases. Of course, a small portion would be the what I've mentioned, that only to work for 1 month or 2 months. But a lot of our workers can finish their contract so long as they can be taken care of, and we can guarantee that. The responsive SRA, your help will be needed in having a improved working environment. Monitor our workers. We will be implementing monitoring mechanisms for us to be able to reach out to our workers in the homes of our employers. Better coordination. We need to have meetings. I think I have already instructed our verification unit head to schedule a meeting. I mean, if you cannot visit me in my office, then perhaps we can even meet just like this one, or perhaps we can meet online if we're really busy going to our place. Our apology for the late invitation, but grateful enough for you to be able to attend this meeting. And again, we need to put emphasis on the dignity of the workplace, protection of our workers, and to have a happy working environment. If we're able to address the welfare concerns, I think % of the concerns of our workers will be resolved. And I think the deployment of migrant workers from the Philippines will no longer be suspended. Well, this is the ideal setup, to have a continuous deployment, to have a better working relation or in with our Saudi recruitment companies. And I think the POLO will be able to facilitate those ideals. We just have to collaborate and coordinate strictly on this. Again, this is perhaps the last slide, and we welcome you to this meeting. We need to know your concerns, your issues, and perhaps your recommendations on how to be able to give the better protection to our workers. Good afternoon and mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you very much, Labor Attaché Roel, sir, for that very informative message. May we also hear another message to be delivered, I should say, by Vice Consul Cristal in behalf of Consul General Edgar Tomas Q. Auxilian. Madam, please.
Thank you, Sir Jerry. Sa ating kagalang-galang at masigasig na Labor Attaché at namumuno ng Philippine Labor Office, Overseas Labor Office dito sa Jeddah, Labat Roel, to his Ala Sol Mucha, to our welfare officers, I think I've seen supervising Sir James Menjola at the back, other members of our POLO OWA, and to the owners, representatives of our foreign recruitment agencies, Saudi recruitment agencies present. Good afternoon to everyone. In November 2021, while the whole world was slowly easing into the new normal after the COVID-19 pandemic, the Philippine Department of Labor and Employment, our DOLE, where the POEA, the now DMW, was previously attached, imposed a temporary ban on new deployment of household workers and construction workers in Saudi Arabia. And I'm guessing we are all aware of the rationale for this ban. And I know everyone here is also keen in ensuring that these reasons of the Philippine government are addressed as we lift the ban on Monday next week. As the head of the legal unit of the Assistance to National Section of the Philippine Consulate General, I have personally seen problems of workers arising from their contract. Various cases. Sometimes, actually most of the time, I should say, we cannot pinpoint where the real cause of the problem lies. Is it on the part of the employers? Is it on the workers? Is it the recruitment agency? Is it in the interpretation of their contract? Or maybe it is the contract itself. Is it the differences between our cultures? Is it in the differences in our laws? I could not say. We may wonder how their stories ended up that way. Where did they get wrong? What did they do wrong? There are many success stories. I have cousins here, cousins working here in Saudi Arabia, and they enjoy Arabia. But we no longer hear them often, the success stories. Because these success stories, they no longer reach our halls or our halls. Understandably, because they really don't need our assistance. These stories no longer reach our halls because they no longer need our assistance. They don't need us because they have successful stories. But Mangwan needs us. Neneng needs us. And I believe this is what we are here for. After almost a year of serving here in Saudi Arabia, I cannot say that I already have a comprehensive understanding of the root causes of the problems of our Filipino compatriots who seek our assistance on a daily basis. I guess no one else does. But every day, me, my colleagues from POLO and OWA, we show up and try to the best of our knowledge with our meager resources to give the assistance needed to our, we call them kababayans. I know POLO and OWA have similar experiences, maybe even worse experiences. But still, here we are, planning ahead, preparing for what is yet to come. So I commend POLO and OWA for holding talks like this. I really admire your indomitable spirit, and I'm actually holding my breath as I imagine the task that is ahead of you, ahead of us. Rest assured that your Philippine Consulate General, the Department of Foreign Affairs, and the ANS are here to perform our mandates with the same fervor in light of the one country theme approach that governs our relations. To our partners in the pursuit of protecting and promoting the welfare of our compatriots here in Jeddah and the western region of the KSA, the foreign recruitment agencies who have recruited and are still interested in recruiting Filipino workers. First, I want to thank you for taking this step with us because I know the reason you are here is to partner with us, to collaborate with us, to coordinate with us in bringing about the promotion and protection of the rights of our workers. Second, I want to leave you with a challenge. Now that we are entering a new era of global migration, the challenge is for us to find that one formula where no more mangwan, no more neneng would find themselves in a quagmire of hardship and despair here in the kingdom. I know this is a tremendous challenge and maybe almost an impossible dream, but it is my fervent hope, my dream that one day in the future, no Filipino will ever suffer, not only suffer, but will ever endure abuse just to feed their families in the Philippines. In the meantime, while we are still here, and I think far away from that dream, I hope that we continue to carry the torch for the thousands who are still here and who will be here because of the lifting of the ban. May we all be conduits. May we all be the reasons why they will succeed in their journey here in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And I thank the Saudi people for allowing the Filipinos, the Filipino people, to work here and have the chance to achieve their dreams for their families in your homeland, in the faraway land of Saudi Arabia. May we all be given the strength and courage to fight on for the rights of the Filipino people. Again, I would like to congratulate our participants who are here today for taking this initial step with us. This shows your commitment to the Filipino people and the Philippine government, that you are our partners in ensuring the welfare of our people in the kingdom. Again, good afternoon, and may we all have a productive meeting this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Vice Consul Cristal, Madam. A very inspiring message. And of course, with those words of encouragement. Maraming salamat. Okay, so that's all for the opening preliminary. We will now proceed with the second part, which is the meeting proper. But may I inform everybody that please get your coffee there, something to eat, while the presentation here is going on so that you will not get bored. We will be presenting to you lots of details regarding the lifting of the ban in the deployment of domestic helpers in the region. So while having your coffee break, we will start already with the presentation. So perhaps one at a time to have their coffee. And we shall now start with the meeting proper. Or perhaps you can have a 5 minutes break. 5 minute break.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Before anything else, I would like to introduce myself to you. Yeah, I'm Mr. Wayne Tumaliwan, the unit head of the verification unit. I'm the supervising labor employment officer of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office. Later on will be known as the Migrant Workers Office, comes January 2023. I know most of you have been to the labor office, especially your liaison officers. But even then, for the benefit of those who have not yet been to the labor office, I will make a quick tour of the offices of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office. The key offices of head of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office, or later on to be known as the Migrant Workers Office, is our Labor Attaché, Roel B. Martin, and our Assistant Labor Attaché, Sulaiman Mucha. We have 4 major units: the Verification Unit, the Balik Manggagawa, the Welfare Cases Unit, and the Command Center. Our office within or inside the Philippine Consulate General. It's located at the Building 5 of the PCG. At the ground floor, you will find the offices of the Verification Unit, the office of the Assistant Labor Attaché, the Balik Manggagawa, and the Verification Unit. On the first floor, there you will find the office of the Labor Attaché and the office of the Welfare Officer, Christine Sison, and Welfare Officer Marlene Hamero, including the staff of the Welfare Officer as well as the Command Center. On the second floor, there we will find the office of Welfare Officer Nelson Borbon, and then the Supervising Welfare Officer James Benjola, who is handling the skilled workers, and the offices of the translator as well. By the way, Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. That's the only Arabic that I know. I was coached by our good Assistant Labor Attaché. And one thing that I know is Mapi Pulos. No money. Anyway, kidding aside, now we'll walk through you to the verification unit. Okay, we'll be presenting to you the process flow and the documents to be submitted for the accreditation of house services workers. The first step is to submit all the requirements at window 3 and 4. All your liaison officers are familiar with this. They know the window 3 and 4, and the documents will be pre-evaluated by 2 staffs of the verification unit. And one is Mr. Hans and the other one is Mr. Ismael. The documents will be submitted, will be pre-evaluated by the 2 gentlemen. If there are deficiencies in the documents submitted by your liaison officers or by your representatives, then they will be required to complete the documents. The first one is the first compliance. As you can see, incomplete documents, expired certificates, blurred documents, photos, suspension from the welfare officers, case officers, and command centers. Blurred documents, this refers to the documents that you submit to us, because sometimes we are having difficulty of reading it. Even the font are very small. We are very strict on this because why? Because if this will be verified by the labor attaché, but when it comes to the POEA, then definitely they will return this. Then during the pre-evaluation, if you fail to with the documents, then it will be returned to your liaison officers for them to complete the documents. Once the documents are completed, once the deficiencies are completed, then they will accept your documents. That is the start of 7 to 10 days process cycle of your documents. And then once accepted, it will be passed on to the evaluator. And that will be me, evaluator. Sometimes our finance officer, Ms. Gina, is also an evaluator if I'm not available. If during my evaluation, I found out that there are still deficiencies, and I saw these documents, I saw these deficiencies, clear suspension, there's some suspension, clarification from the FRA, pre-evaluation will inform, one of our staff will inform via email your agencies of there should be compliance. And then we will email you and issue you a notice of denial. A notice of denial is stating the documents that are lacking. And then if you fail to answer this, if you fail to comply the notice of denial, then you are given 15 days within which to submit a letter of reconsideration. Notice of denial of your documents. We will be sending this, a formal notice of denial to all of you. And once you receive this, you are given 15 days within which to submit a letter of reconsideration stating your grounds for reconsideration. Are we clear on that? Liaison officers, please take note of this because you will be the one explaining this to all of your employers. And then after this, documents will be returned to the pre-evaluator and then they will check and it's okay now, you comply with all of this, then it will pass to the labor attaché. Okay, compliance number 3. If during verification of the labor attaché, if there are still incomplete documents, upon his disposal, clarification of the FRA, or he necessity of on-site or job inspection or interview, then the process cycle will stop, will be suspended. Meaning to say, if the labor attaché recommends there is a need to inspect the company or there's a need to interview the workers, then the employer, the SRA, will comply with that. And once labor attaché is satisfied with the outcome of the interview or the job site visit, then the document will now be stamped and we will be preparing the certificate of accreditation. And then this will be returned to the labor attaché for his signature. And then after that, payment at window 3 and 4, and then next would be the release of at window 3 and 4. Next process flow is the process flow of job order for the skilled worker. Again, almost the same as with the accreditation. Submit the requirements at window 3 and 4 and then pre-evaluated by our pre-evaluator. If they saw a compliance, they need to comply the following document. Please take note again of this. Incomplete documents, suspension from welfare officers, COEX officers, or command center. Unauthorized signature, wrong translation of document, fake photos of accommodation, expired certificates, blurred documents, and others. These fake photos of accommodation, we have encountered a lot of these, of fake photos of accommodations. In fact, we wrote a letter to some of the SRAs warning them that this should not happen again. Because we will prove this, then we will issue the necessary, I think, suspension, if that would be the case. Depends on the labor attaché. Okay, if this will be complied, then it will be accepted. Again, once accepted, then the process cycle of 7 to 10 days will now start. And then the document will pass on to the evaluator. And that would be me. These are the deficiencies. Actually, as you can see, almost the same. Wrong translation, fake photos, suspension. We will be issuing a notice of denial. SRA or FRA will be given 15 days within which to submit a letter of reconsideration, citing the ground for reconsideration. And this will be decided by the labor attaché. Then, if the deficiency at the compliance number 2 will be complied, then it will go down now to the labor attaché. Again, if the labor attaché finds some deficiencies again, incomplete documents, clarification from FRA, SRA, and others. And if this is okay, then it will be subjected to stamping, and then verified, and then for signature of the labor attaché. And if it's okay, then payment of 3 and 4, and the release will be at window 3 and 4. We are given 7 to 10 days, the process cycle, to release all your documents. This is the process flow that will be followed during the comes November 7 on the opening of the ban for the hiring of HSW. Again, submit requirement at window 3 and 4. Pre-evaluate submitted document. We only have two staff, the pre-evaluator, Mr. Hanif and Mr. Isma. All of your licensed officers are familiar with their faces. And then during the pre-evaluation, if there is a need to comply, especially the suspension from welfare officers. Why? What are the suspensions? Usually, you have suspension issued by the welfare officer because probably of the cases that you are not able to solve. And if you have ward at the BK, at the Bahay Kalinga. Anyway, this will be expounded later on by our good welfare officers. We have Welfare Officer James and Welfare Officer Marlene. Then, once the document will pass through the evaluator, then it will be accepted at the window 3 and 4. Again, that would be the start of the process cycle, the 7 to 10 days. And then payment of the document. And then stamping. Next, this will be distributed to authorized signatories. As far as I remember, the authorized signatories are, of course, me. I'm one of them. Our Assistant Labor Attaché, Sir Al-Sulmukcha, Ms. Gina, and I think Mr. Jerry. He is one of the authorized signatories. And then once distributed, we will not immediately sign this. This will again, the documents will be again evaluated by us. And what will be requirements? Let me see. Counter check. If the employer name is wrong, the PRA, wrong spelling of worker's name, counter check passport, counter check visa, wrong visa. What is the message that we are relaying on this? Please see to it for the liaison officers, for all the authorized representatives of the SRA. You are already given in advance the list of requirements. It's already attached in the labor standards contract, and these are downloadable. It is your responsibility that all of the documents that you are submitting are correct. If not, then definitely it will be delayed.
Sir, may I add on the...
Yes,
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala
yes,
wabarakatuh.
Mr. Hans is one of my staff, one of the evaluator.
I will just want to add with this compliance for the liaison officers because some of the contracts sometimes came from far away. Sometimes it's from Abha, from Najran, Jisan. So once the contracts are delivered to the liaison officers, we are asking you please check it first before you submit to us because sometimes you are just opening the parcel on our front or in the window. So kindly sit down first and check the documents before you submit. Thank you.
Hello, may I just interrupt the presentation? Please be informed that all these presentations, its soft copy, will be provided to you. Though do not bother, we will provide the soft copy.
Yes. We will
Thank
give
you. Thank you.
Yeah, for your benefit. So once the documents are cleared from the evaluators, then it will now be released at window 3 and 4. These are the requirements. Actually, this is what I'm telling you before. You were given the advanced list of requirement of HSW. Okay, list of HSW, the individual contract, addendum to the contract, contingency plan, special power of attorney, the passport copy of the worker, HAWIA or the comma of the employer, and then the national address of the employer and visa of the worker. May I go back to the national address? During the CMS, we encountered a lot of problems. The employers, they are having hard time producing the national address. They're submitting national address which is not acceptable. So please take note of this. Liaison officers, you know this. The labor attaché a while ago said that the department is now in the process of reviewing a new contract for the HSW. So definitely before November 7, the new contract will now be released and that will be made available to all of you. All of these documents are downloadable. As you can see, it's here, downloadable. Liaison officers, you know this. Next slide, please. Step requirements from PAA for acceptance, accreditation, and skills. Okay, this is a summary of what I've been saying. The POLO shall undertake the following. Upon receipt of the documentary requirements, the POLO, or later on to be known as the Migrant Workers Office, shall immediately check the completeness of the accreditation. So what is the keyword? The keyword is the completeness of the documents. The subject to compliance by the principal of the deficiencies, if there are any. Then the POLO shall verify the accreditation documents within 7 days. That is the process cycle. Meaning to say we will release your documents 7 to 10 days. 7 to 10 days working days upon determination of the completeness. Again, the completeness and the correctness of the said documents. So again, may I call on the liaison officers, the authorized representatives. Please be wary of this completeness and correctness of the documents. Because if not, then your documents will keep on returning and returning. That's why some of you are having arguments at the window of the verification unit. And if I may, again, we're having difficulties also discussing with some of your representatives. Why? If they are not Filipinos, other nationalities, they are having hard time speaking at least even basic English. We're having difficulty of understanding with each other. But if you will send to us at least somebody who knows even a basic English, then everything will be smooth. Okay, if the accreditation documents are deemed incomplete and incorrect, the POLO will issue the notice of denial. This is what I've been saying before to the applicant principal, and then you will be given a letter, 15 days to file your letter of reconsideration stating your grounds for reconsideration, and this is subject to the approval of the labor attaché. Then again, this is what I've been saying. If the labor attaché decides to conduct a job site visit and or interview, then the process cycle shall be suspended and will continue only after the job site visit or interview. Meaning to say, if the labor attaché is satisfied with the outcome, probably, of the outcome of the interview and the job site visit, then he will verify your. Then once verified, the POLO shall require the payment of verification fee and shall release verified accreditation documents within the 7 to 10 working days. In fact, in our experience, we released this, yes, on the 5th day. Next, please. Okay, job order, accreditation policy requirements. Okay, liaison officers, please take note of this. Submission of job orders and SRA accreditation will be only on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We've been reiterating this again and again. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then the releasing will be Sunday to Wednesday only. So do not come to us on Thursday and ask for the release of your document. Why? Why we are doing this? Because we are expecting volume, especially when comes November 7, the opening of the hiring of HSW. The cut-off time is only until 2:30 in the afternoon. Meaning to say, you will submit your documents Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday only until 2:30 in the afternoon. No exception. Then we will have this priority system, but still developing this 12929, and then it will go back. And then this one, liaison officers, please take note. You are only given 10 contracts per week and 1 week releasing of contracts after submission. We have 18 existing requirements. The white letter, these are the new requirements, but they are already incorporated in the list of requirements. As you can see, recruitment agreement, or, it says there, or, meaning to say, either one. Liaison officer, please take note of this. You can submit either recruitment agreement or special power of attorney. Under the new memorandum circular number 16, series of 2022, you are required to submit either recruitment agreement or special power of attorney. Before, you are required to submit two. Now, either the recruitment agreement or the special power of attorney. Next, please. These are the additional. They can be found under Memorandum Circular number 16, series of 2022. Undertaking by the principal, please take note of this, and the LRA to monitor employment of OFWs and to submit report of significant incidents concerning OFWs. You will be required to submit this, to submit an undertaking. And then this one, proof of escrow deposit for specific occupations. And then for stopping outsourcing companies, this will apply to recruitment offices upgraded to a company, became company, and as well as mega recruitment companies. These are the documents that presented: the manpower for client, list of clients, service agreement. Okay, during the job site visit, for the first time applicants, the labor attaché may require the submission of pictures and or videos of the work site and accommodation of the workers, or the conduct visit interview with the employer. Authors of the job site or visit or interview shall be conducted within 5 working days receipt of the complete documents. Meaning to say, at the level of the labor attaché, if you decided that your company, SRA, will be subjected to on-site visit or interview, then these are the requirements. Establish the existence of the employer, its ability to hire, your ability to hire, the workers at the prescribed rates, and desirable working conditions consistent with the labor standards, the Philippine labor standards issued by the Philippine government or the DMW, with the labor laws and regulations in the country of employment. Next slide, please. We'll have a direct monitoring of the workers after 1 month. The same, POLO, lead the monitoring of the SRA. After 1 month arrival of the worker, then to call the worker and ask if they were given personal hygiene, good sleeping quarter, mobile contact number, and even temporary contact number. On the 3rd month, after 3 months, call worker must be issued a comma by the employer. Then they've given the mobile number and at least the salary bank account. And then after 1 year, call worker and ask for the status of the worker with the employer. This is important. Please take note of this. No status report, no acceptance, no processing of SRA accreditation. We will not process your documents in the absence of the status report. This is still subject for review. But once this is done, we will provide you with this. Still for review by the labor authority. Next, please. Requirements, job orders. Almost the same. License officer, please take. Yun lang po ang nagbago. Pero na-incorporated na yun. And then, we have another additional. We are required to submit the lease agreement for the accommodation. We will be requiring you this, the lease agreement. This is additional requirement by the POLO. Yes, Hans.
Yes, in addition with that, we add the lease agreement for the accommodation because of that previously discussed by Sir Wayne regarding the replicate submissions of photos for the accommodation. So that is maybe our counter for this, yes.
Way of checking the authenticity of the accommodation. This is a picture of accommodation. The living room, bedroom, comfort room, or that's the toilet and bathroom, and the kitchen or the pantry. I, for one, I'm very strict with this. Almost all of you are submitting pictures as small as this. I usually return this. Submit to us 1 whole page colored picture of the bedroom, colored picture of the restroom, colored picture of pantry. Also, they will take the picture of the bed, only half. Not even half of the bed. I don't understand why they're submitting half of the bed. And then the toilet, only the door. This is true, alam nyo yan, license officers. We will keep on returning this because we are not the ones who impose this. This is a requirement from the PUA. And we are not delaying your documents. In fact, we are helping you. Because if we will allow this to pass and verified by the labor attaché, and then this will go to the PUA, they will deny this. Then what's the use? Okay, policies. May we ask Ma'am Marlene, can you please discuss the issue on welfare? We'd like to present to you one of the beautiful welfare officer, Ma'am Marlene Hamero, to discuss welfare cases.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming, and I would like to extend my thanks for the cooperation you are giving to the POLO office for the resolving of the cases of our distressed workers. And I hope that by the opening of deployment, everyone will be proactive and doing their best to resolve the cases and to monitor their workers. This is in regards to the securing of the clearance for the suspensions issued in your office. First, we need to have a written statement from the worker or from your office. This is with regards to the suspension for the workers who are not in the Bahay Kalinga. So we usually issue suspensions when the agency is not acting on the case. We are sending you messages to act on the cases, but if no action is given or being provided to us, we issue suspensions. So I hope that you understand that we need to help our workers. So the first thing that we need in order to lift the suspension is for you to submit a written statement of the worker regarding the status of the worker. So we've been doing this. So you are sending the letters or bringing the letters to me or to the welfare officer, and then we are going to call the workers and to talk to them regarding their present status. For those also with police cases, we need an update. So we do understand that sponsors file cases, usually theft cases, to their workers, but these are purely, mostly of them are false accusations. So with regards to police cases, we really need your help to convince the employers to cancel the cases. So the case against the worker will be dismissed and they will be sent home to the Philippines. And to those workers who have labor cases, we also asking your cooperation again to talk to the sponsors to convince them to cooperate, to cancel the cases so that our workers will be free from the cases and they will be sent to the Philippines. Usually, the sponsors filed hurub, even though the workers does not run away from them. So in filing the hurub, they were given 15 days to cancel the hurub so that exit visa may be issued to the worker. In cases that hurub cannot be canceled, the POLO is here to provide assistance to the workers and facilitate their exit visas through the Shumaisi. But again, we are asking your cooperation that once they have the exit visa, you have to provide tickets. We do understand that they have hurub. The common process before the pandemic, hurub workers will be sent to deportation and the Saudi government will provide the ticket. But now, we are processing their exit visa with the help of our Shumaisi, and so we again need your help to provide tickets for them. And also, for those workers at the Bahay Kalinga who have cases, either labor case or police case, we are asking also financial assistance, or this is what we call a subsidy allowance from agencies to be provided to the workers in order for them, in one way or another, may help them in their financial problems. So it is $100 per month, maximum of 6 months. And for those runaway, as of now, the Department of Migrant Workers are looking after our workers who left the houses of their sponsors and who does not report to the consulate or to the POLO. So we really need your help to know the whereabouts of these workers so that we can send them home. So usually, you made a report addressed to our office that they ran away from their sponsors, but that letter is not enough. You have to undertake some actions to find the workers in order to send them back to the Philippines. So you send us letters. We also informed the Assistance to National Sections, the office of Ma'am Cristal, so that they were aware that the person is missing and that they did not report to the consulate nor report to the agencies, so that to avoid future problems. And we need your best effort in locating those runaway workers. We are also asking help from you, and the POLO is requiring you a 3 months period to locate the OFW by communicating through the worker, through their family, through their friends, through their Philippine recruitment agencies, and other ways to find just to locate the workers. I know that you are following or monitoring your workers because when we ask you, you have a ready answer that the worker is working outside. So you are very much aware that the worker is just around the corner. So please make a report, talk to the worker, convince them to go to the POLO so that we can have a statement from them to determine if they are okay or if they are willing to be sent to the Philippines. So all we need is just a cooperation from you. You are the one who deployed the workers, so you are the one responsible for your workers. We are here to support and help you. Thank you so much, and I know all of you are willing to work and to help for your worker.
Thank you, Ma'am Marlene. May we call also Sir Jerry from the command center. He is also one of those fellow who is issuing suspension of your SRAs.
Okay, may I inform everybody that the command center is very regularly accepting requests for assistance through emails and through our hotline. Now, these requests for assistance are being conveyed to the recruitment agencies either through calls also. We call your agencies, or we send notice the request for assistance through email. If there are no actions coming from the agency to resolve the problem of the worker, then of course, in considerable time, we will issue the suspension until such time that the agency could present a concrete action. Now, what is that concrete action? If the request for assistance is repatriation because of maltreatment, mistreatment, and the like, or in general, contract violation and it is being validated, it is being verified, then the concrete action should be exit visa and the ticket, because the claim is that she wanted to go home. Now, there are also reports reaching our office that there are workers who ran away from their employers. The concrete action there is to inform our office the location, the present location of the worker, and who is the present employer that he or she is working with at present. So update the office. If you cannot communicate with the worker, then please communicate with your counterpart in the Philippines, because they have also contact with the relatives of that worker. So just give us update in which this must be a statement or a situation that you can get from the family, the latest update, not an update that was taken a month ago or 2 months past that is no longer an update. So in those cases, we really issue suspensions, and for the lifting of this suspension, we recommend its lifting, of course, to the Office of the Labor Attaché. Those liaison officers should report to command center, present to us this proof of concrete action, then we can recommend for the lifting of the suspension. As easy as that. So long as you can provide us on time, please do it promptly, because you know, if we say request for assistance, our client is demanding for an immediate and urgent, and this is an urgent action that they are needing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to elaborate on this. If you can read this, best effort by the SRA. The key word here is the best effort. What is the best effort? Liaison officers, you know this. We are very strict on this, on the best effort. When the document is given to my table, the accreditation, there are two things that I check. If there is a suspension, and one, if there is a ward at BK or runaway. When upon verification, it says that runaways or cannot be located. Do not just give the document. Your accreditation required your application. Submit to us without any explanation letter, because that will not pass on, especially to the labor attaché. You please explain to us what is your best effort in locating the runaway. What is best effort? Have you contacted the nearest kin? Do not just say in your letter, the runaway, the worker absconded, period. We will not accept that. And we are very strict on that. And liaison officers can attest to this. Because even if I will allow this, but when it reaches the labor attaché, then definitely he will return the document. Also, if the report is the worker was repatriated, then the follow-up question by the labor attaché, who bought the ticket? Because if you will say that this was repatriated through the repatriation flight by the POLO or by the PCG, then that is a big question mark to the labor attaché, because this is your responsibility to produce the plane ticket. Okay, thank you. Next, please. Liaison officers. Okay, this is a new development. A liaison officer can only represent 4 SRAs or foreign recruitment agencies. Before, you are allowed to represent at least 10, 5, 6, 7, now, or even 30. But now, you are limited to 4 SRAs. Liaison officers should be conversant in language understood by the employer and the domestic worker. Then, a foreign liaison officer can be employed as long as conversant in the language understood by both employer and the domestic worker, even in basic English and Arabic. Okay, welfare officer or the widow, what we call welfare desk officer. A welfare officer can represent only 1 FRA. This is entirely separate or different from the liaison officer. You are mandated now to employ welfare officer. And welfare officer must be a Filipino national. Meaning to say you cannot employ any other nationality except Filipino. Filipino welfare officer must be college graduate or secondary graduate and has at least 2 years experience in handling welfare cases involving OFWs. Clearances from the welfare officer, case officer, and from command center before accepting the processing of this will not be produced, then your document will not be processed. We will not accept this for processing. These are the payment. As far as I understand, the 3 polos from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia will be issuing uniform paying scale. Okay, next please. This is the one that we will be implementing. For new hire comes November 7. Individual contract 40 and then visa 40, or a total of 80 SAR. 1 copy of the individual contract. Do we have mega recruitment? None. Okay. This is based on our POLO database. As we speak now, we have 340 recruitment officers. Last August 7, we issued a memorandum requesting you to update information. And out of the 340, only 214 submitted unupdated information. 126 did not submit. And then, as you can see, there are 333 suspensions at verification unit. This is not 1:1 because sometimes one agency is suspended 10 times. One agency is suspended 2 times. One agency is suspended 20 times. Mega recruitment, we have only 5 mega recruitment, and only 1 mega recruitment submitted and updated. Based on our database, all of them have Please take note of this. As of October 5, there are 19 listed SRA from the POA database. And then we have one blacklisted. There's only one blacklisted from the POA database. Slide, please. License officers. There is one license officer handling 17. One license officer handling 16. A mother and son handling 7, 3, or a total of 10. Husband and wife handling 5 and 2. But this will not be allowed anymore because now you will be required to handle only 4 SRAs. And we will be strict on that. Okay. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Wayne, for that very informative presentation. We will now proceed to the open forum, but may I just make an announcement? Time check, it is already 4:30. We will be entertaining not too much questions so that to give way to the other 2 parts of the program, we're expecting an announcement from Mr. Aljabarti. And lastly, the closing of our Assistant Labor Attaché. Okay, so while waiting for the first question from that paper, please take note of this, our friends from the agencies. Do not talk about the problem of a worker that came from a problem that arises from the employer-employee relationship. The one that is being raised by our friend there, Halimbawa. He made an example that the licensed recruitment agency does not have any fault with what had happened with the worker. Please remember, if there is no problem of the worker that she encountered from the employer, nothing will happen as the day goes on with that sponsor. So, very frequently, there are statements coming from our friends saying the fault came from the worker. But if we analyze deeper where the problem came from, there is that employer-employee working relationship. It is something that bothers the worker, okay? So, let us always consider the situation when what causes that problem. So, dig deeper on it. Get the main cause of that problem. Okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. There is this question. As of now, is there any chance that the number of ACRE allowed to each SRA office be increased? Initially, this is the mandate of the labor attaché, that you will only be allowed to handle SRAs. Follow-up question, Labat. If there's possibility to increase the 10 contracts per week?
Actually, we're reviewing. If you can send us specific evidence based on the visa approved, the request coming from employers, valid request, then we can increase the existing 10 approved job orders. Right now, dun sa accreditation, we're approving 10. And a lot of you have been approved and there are ongoing processing being made with DMW, with POEA Manila right now. But I'm still waiting also a recommendation coming from verification unit. They have not submitted the recommendation. We've been asking MHRSD as regards the number of prospective employers so that we can anticipate how many we can process and how many we will be allowing. So you need to inform us on this. This is also related to the blacklisting and whitelisting. If we can see that you're part of the whitelist, then definitely we can give more numbers as compared to those who cannot settle labor concerns in our office. So expect that the number, the 10 actual processing be increased. Of course, it's very remote possibility for us to decrease it to 9. Probably that is the minimum that we can give, but of course we can increase it. Again, we need to have basis for the increase. Is it because of expiring visas? Then we need to know because we don't want visas to expire and let OFWs stay in the accommodation in the local agency. We want as much as possible. I think the target number of days is 21 days or 3 weeks for a domestic worker to come here in the kingdom. If all documents are submitted and approved within 21 days, that's the ideal. Right now, how many months? 3 months? Usually 3 months. Sometimes 4 months. But we're targeting at least 21 days. So better, faster for domestic workers to come so long as all documents are complete. Again, we can increase that subject to the justifications that you need to submit, then we can consider.
Sir, about the question that is being asked, if there is possibility that the 4 SRAs will be increased. Okay, another question. how many license officer per SRA?
Okay. This has been raised by Saudi recruitment owners during the first meeting. Of course, there's the difficulty of providing welfare, addressing the welfare issues of our domestic workers. Bakit? Because, yun nga, nakita ho natin, di ba? 17. So, paano mo, at 50 times 17, ilan yun? So, it's too many workers to handle by single license officers. And I think the agencies are suffering also. So, we need to balance this one. So, we have decided with Al-Khobar and Riyadh to limit up to maximum of 4. So, within the next couple of days, you need to submit to us. Those who have submitted 17, you need to choose only 4. So, i-drop yung mga license officers. If you have 17, you need to drop 13. And you have to inform the agency owners, of course, because if the license officer decides to drop your agency, then definitely you need to submit a new license officer to transact to us. Okay? So, we will give you time to do this in the same manner for license officers and of course welfare officers also. You will be given enough time to comply with the requirement of 1 welfare officer for every agency.
Another question, if for widow or welfare officer, can SRO hire female? Yes, for as long as this is Filipino. It did not say if it's a male or female.
Okay. In addition to that, we've been negotiating with the Ministry of Labor. The ideal setup would be for you to provide ikama for your WEDO or your welfare officers. Not as domestic workers, definitely. Not translator because this is Saudi size right now. But as a labor, we're still negotiating what specific visas that can be provided so that we can achieve that the WEDO or the welfare officer is an employee of the agency, so that you have full control of the welfare officer. So in that case, she can act or he can act also as the license officer. After all, as a license officer, you just submit the document. If it's complete, kalas, within 2 days, 3 days, it will be approved. For owners also, we would want you to visit our office. Usually some license officers, owners are visiting office. They are the ones also submitting because we have specific requirements. If your documents are complete, there's no need for you to wait. We can comply with the 7 to 10 working days and we can even in fact release it earlier. So you don't need to do background negotiations. We don't need that. In fact, I don't need to speak with you. If your documents are complete, definitely it must be approved. So that's what we are implementing right now at POLO. Ideally and eventually, if it will be fully digitalized, then I think approval will be faster, easier, and you don't need to submit it to Manila by LBC because we will be implementing merely by clicking the computer for approval. When we click for approve, automatic, within 1 minute, POEA or DMW can determine that the job orders have been approved and they will issue the necessary documents for the release of the visa. Yes.
We would like you to elaborate more about the job order accreditation. Previously, as you know, that we may submit like 100 visa for household workers, but recently we have been hearing something different. But you know that it will take time from processing here to be sent to the DMW for approval. So we were talking about decreasing the duration of the recruitment, but with this process, it will be more than 3 months. Thank you.
Yes. Definitely, we'll have to increase the 10. We will have to increase the 10. That's why I've been telling your license officers not to rush on approving the accreditation because we're still negotiating as to how many will be the maximum. Previously, it's 100, right? But we're still talking and coordinating with the other polos so that we'll be able to implement uniform. We have not yet agreed on a specific number, but the 10 will definitely increase. Because, of course, we do acknowledge the time for the processing, the approval, and it would be taxing also on the part of POLO to approve 10, and the next week you need to submit another 10 and submit another 10, wherein, in fact, we can submit 50 and for approval. Okay, we're also likewise determining the number of workers that will come. So on the local agency, we need to know the supply. I mean, the demand, of course, we can coordinate it with you, but the supply we need also to take into account. So that's why right now there is limit because they have yet to start the deployment and probably recruitment of domestic workers. But rest assured, we can increase the existing 10 job orders.
Another question, sir. From Al-Basma, Al-Sahabia. In regards, if we have employers living in Riyadh, for example, or can we still process the contract in Jeddah?
Well, employer in Riyadh and the agency is based in Jeddah. As an agency, you need to inform POLO on that. So we have to require the employer to submit the necessary document for the impending transfer. Kasi may jurisdiction issue kasi doon eh. Well, if there will be no welfare case within the 2-year contract, then there's no problem. But if there will be issues between the employer and the worker, issues may arise, like difficulty of Jeddah to provide the welfare case, to address the welfare case in Riyadh, because this is a separate jurisdiction. So ideally, agencies in Western region will have to deploy only within the Western region. So ideally, if you're based in Jeddah, deploy it to workers here in Jeddah. If you're based in Kamis, ideally, you just have to deploy it within Kamis or within the Western region, because this is our jurisdiction. Yes, those are special cases. When employers transfer to other city, okay, you need to inform us so that we can also coordinate it with our POLO in Riyadh or perhaps Al-Kubar or Eastern region. So we will direct them. I think we will be conducting post-arrival orientation seminar for domestic workers and at the same time employers so that they will know their duties and obligations. I think the last negotiations that we had, there will be an Annex A to the standard employment contract indicating specific conditions regarding their employee-employer relationship.
Okay, another question. If the worker refused to inform the SRA where she is, and also that, and okay, even though the SRA did the best effort, what should the SRA do?
The issue of best effort, dun sa mga, I'll speak in Tagalog because this is concern of our liaison officers. Minsan, napapansin namin, di ba may document tayo, yung 1-page document for you to call applicant or the worker, you call the friends, you call the relatives. Nakikita namin, isang araw nyo nga lang tinatawagan yun eh. Is that best effort? Definitely not. Kung hindi namin kinol yung attention ninyo, hindi pa kayo tumawag. So, that will not really lift the existing suspension if in case. Makikita naman kung talagang nag-best effort kayo, even prior to natawagan nyo na dapat. The best thing that you can do is to call the family. You have to coordinate it with the local recruitment agency because they know their family is there. And I think, based on our experience, within 1 week, if the worker ran away, they will call their relatives in the Philippines. They will definitely call and they would know where she is. So we need to know because we need to contact the worker. What the POLO will do, we need to contact the worker and perhaps request her to visit POLO, either here or in Al-Kubar or in Riyadh, because we will be requiring her to execute an undertaking, meaning she ran away and she's working and of course she wants to work and she does not want to go home yet, so that we can spare the existing agencies, because right now, based on existing documents, you are still liable if you do not know the whereabouts and of course the specific issues of our workers. So we can help you with that also. So sa mga liaison officers, gawin natin yon. Kasi alata naman, nagmamadali na naman kayo. Nagsasubmit lang kayo ng mga, for compliance ba? So wala. Pag naging stricto, minsan, o kadalasan, nagiging stricto ako, wala. Hindi ko na pinapansin yon kasi alam ko lang for compliance lang naman yun eh. Kasi makikita ko kung talagang ginawa nyo yung best effort ninyo. We've been experiencing runaways and we need to address this also during our orientation with our workers, because this is not the best option for them to run away, because this is criminal act and they will be banned in coming here in Saudi. Sometimes they will be deported also. So we have to convince them. We will reiterate that in our post-arrival orientation seminars, even during the PAOS or PIDOS, pre-departure, because we need to inform them the do's and don'ts of living here in Saudi Arabia.
May we also remind you about the contact informations of your office. We frequently advise these liaison officers to convey our request to the owners of the recruitment agencies. We need the contact information that will reach directly to the owner or the manager of the agency.
هو يبغى المناديب لو عندكم ايميل خاص لصاحب المكتب تعطوها لكوماند سنتر عشان لو في مشاكل يقدر يتواصل معاكم على طول.
Another question: is it possible for liaison officers to be also at the same time welfare officers? Because we are, if they are limited to 4 agencies, then we are choosing the best agency. Is it possible if at the same time they are the liaison officer and at the same time the welfare officer?
Okay, is it possible being liaison officer and widow? Baliktad siguro. Di ba, nabanggit ko na kayo na yung widow pwedeng mag-liaison officer. Actually, pag tinignan nyo yung provisions ng POA rules, walang liaison officer. There is no liaison officer mentioned in any rule. Wala, di ba? Wala. Actually, dapat hindi kami nakipag-usap sa inyo kasi wala kayong legal personality. But of course, we need to facilitate the deployment process. That's why you're here. You're authorized to transact business and you understand. So right now, we're transitioning. So sabi ko, we will be giving you time to adjust. It depends on your experience becoming a WEDO or welfare officer. Kita naman ng mga agencies yung mga hindi nagpa-process ng mga welfare cases nila. Kita naman So we will advise you. You need to get specific welfare officers and separate liaison officers. But for the meantime, I think we'll give you time coming November to adjust if you cannot find any liaison officer or perhaps WEDO or welfare officers. Then you need to submit as undertaking while you are looking for the best WEDO or best liaison officers for your company.
Okay, sir. From Rawasi Al-Imchas, there is a clamor here. Can POLO OWA help us to facilitate the training and seminars for handling welfare officers?
Yes, of course. We will be requesting, actually we'll have to develop the modules for the training of handling or how to handle welfare cases. Just like what I've mentioned you before, 90% if we will be able to resolve welfare cases, then I don't think we will encounter any more problem. Secondly, have you heard about the insurance? They will now implement insurance in every worker. So this will resolve the issue about non-payment of wages, run away. In the same manner that the employer can be paid, hence she or he will no longer file any claim or any criminal case, theft case, just to direct the worker to pay because of the deployment cost that she paid. I mean, imagine 20,000 Saudi riyals and after 1 month, she ran away. So where will he get the 20,000? So there will be an insurance. I think if you apply it through Musaned, all fees will be collected already from the employer. So I think this is a positive development if this will push through within a couple of days or perhaps weeks, so that lesser welfare cases will be handled by POLO and eventually will address a lot of issues being encountered by our domestic workers. So we will help you on that.
Why are we suspended like this long time? We have the attention again like this because SRA office giving advance money to PRA office. They were unable to give back the advance money. And the second question, day off, not allowed. Are they allowed to go outside?
We have received a lot of complaints about PRA not giving back the money that you have given to them. Of course, we have written POEA or DMW on this so that they will direct the recruitment agency, the Philippine Recruitment Agency, to answer your claims of non-payment or perhaps the worker did not arrive here, so that this will be addressed. And eventually, you can revoke your agreement with them and change recruitment agency, because definitely you cannot transact business or you cannot deploy workers if you do not change or revoke the agreement. It will be very difficult for you to transact business if you will not revoke. Okay. Day off. We need to implement the day off. You have to be with us on this because this is included in the employment contract. Day off or rest day. If they cannot go out, I think they need to rest. For 1 whole week, 6 days of work, at least 1 day of rest. We need to inform the workers. If they will not be allowed to go out because of security issues, then we need also to consider that. But we need to inform the employer to provide the 1 day rest every week. I think there is also specific provisions on the revised contract that in every 5 hours of continuous work, the employer shall give at least an hour of break for food, for rest at least. We need to convince. I think there are a lot of employers who are doing this. So we will have to identify them and convince. Probably Saudi can convince fellow Saudi to implement those innovations. Or I think just to address rest day for our workers. So if she will be allowed to go out, I think this is matter of trust and confidence between the worker and the employer. You have to build the trust before they will allow you to go out. But would be mandatory for us to monitor that every worker shall be given at least 1 day rest for every week. And I tell you, based on the survey that we have conducted, this is the main issue that we have encountered, the no rest day or no day off. If we will provide them the day off, I think their performance will improve. And eventually, they will definitely finish the 2-year contract.
Thank you very much, Labor Attaché Roel, sir. So there are no papers reaching the moderators here in front, so it means to say no more questions. May we hear now a short announcement from Mr. Jabarti, please.
السلام عليكم. معكم عبد الله الجبرتي صاحب مكتب الجبرتي للاستقدام. باسمكم واسم جميع المكاتب من مستوى المملكة نشكر سعادة القنصل رويل بي مارتن وجميع فريق القنصلية بجدة على هذا اللقاء المفيد اللي انتظرناه طويلا. وأخيرا أحب أقول لكم أنه هذا اللقاء مسجل وبإذن الله سيتم إخراجه بشكل مناسب وترجمة اللقاء بالكامل وإرساله في الجروبات بإذن الله. شكرا لكم.
To all of you, may we announce that the presentation here will be provided to you both in English and in Arabic version. Okay? So do not worry about copy on this. We will provide you. Now, or again, your email address, your contact information. Please give us the correct contact information so that all of these materials could reach your office. Okay? So may we have now Assistant Labor Attaché Sulaiman Mocha for his closing remarks. Sir, please.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Our Labor Attaché Roel Martin, who is the head of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office, POLO Jeddah. Our Vice Consul Crystal Rabanal represent the Consul General, the head of post, Edgar Tomas Auxilian, distinguished owners of the SRA or their representative and their liaison officer who are with us now, our fellow officers and staff of the POLO or Philippine Overseas Labor Office, a pleasant afternoon. Once again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. In behalf of the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in Jeddah, POLO, Philippine Consul General, Jeddah, under the able leadership of our head of POLO, Labor Attaché Roel B. Martin, we would like to thank all of you for making this significant event as very productive undertaking. Despite the challenges arising in the world of work, we need convergent efforts in harmonizing our approach in minimizing or neutralizing disturbances affecting the engagement of our Filipino workers. It has been a pleasure in partnering with you as stakeholders involved in realizing the dreams of our Filipino workers, longing for a better condition of life by engaging to every employment opportunities available in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The generous contribution and commitment made by all participants aiming to continue supporting the advancement of the interests of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Philippines in terms of judicious management, development of human resources is highly appreciated. We are looking forward for a continuing partnership and maintaining an excellent cooperation with you as we are carrying out our mission of ensuring the protection of the right and promotion of the welfare of the Filipino workers in your kingdom or in our kingdom. By doing so, thank you very much to each and everyone. Wish you all the safe return to your respective places Mabuhay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. The program is hereby closed.
May we request for a picture taking among the owners of the agencies and another group from the liaison officers.